HarperCollins presents Shark, written and read by Paul de Gelder. I'd like to dedicate this book to all those who work tirelessly, creating films, changing legislation, fundraising, and sharing their own love of sharks so that we might continue to have these wonderful creatures in our oceans for generations to come. Forward. We are at war with the natural world, and in so being, we are revealing a war within ourselves. A battle of ignorance and truth, fear and understanding, corruption and morality. It may be shocking for some to learn that in the last 50 years we have seen 2/3 of all wildlife populations eradicated from the face of the earth. And beneath the waves, 90% of all the large fish in our seas have gone. In fact, explorers and documentary filmmakers must now travel to the ends of the earth to find pockets of wildlife that still remain. Yet those Edens of life are ever shrinking under the threats of poaching and extraction. It can be easy for many of us to disregard the significance of this parabolic shift from a once abundant to a now scarce natural world. We can fool ourselves, quite successfully, into thinking none of this will ever touch our lives. But this naive and rather arrogant attitude is the very thing catapulting us further and further into the chaos. Like the story of Icarus, flying with wings made of wax and feathers ever closer to the sun. It's clear we have set our course on a trajectory that is in urgent need of reevaluation, and one of the people with whom I have been fortunate enough to connect is Paul de Gelder, who is on a mission to correct our course. I was adamant about featuring Paul in my Netflix original film Seaspiracy, not only because he is one of the most passionate shark conservationists on the planet, but also because of his inspiring personal story of triumph and transformation in spite of the challenges life has thrown at him. It's not every day that someone on a military counter-terrorism trial is almost killed by a shark, lives to tell the tale, and ends up devoting their life to promoting the protection of the very thing that almost killed them, and swimming close up with them regularly too. Today, our psychological and digital landscapes have become saturated with narratives of fear, division, and deceit. Humanity now craves answers for how we can live in harmony with each other and the rest of the natural world. The irony, of course, is that a species who has aspirationally named themselves humane beings must now look for guidance from some of the very species we have come to fear the most. Despite the bad press that sharks have received, our young species has much to learn from creatures who have inhabited the earth before trees even existed. Who better to take us on that journey from ignorance to truth and fear to understanding than someone who looked fear in the eye and offered compassion in return? Ali Tabrizi, filmmaker. Introduction. Like billions of other people around the world, to hear the word shark once filled me with terror. And why not? Think of those huge gaping jaws filled with razor-sharp teeth. I bet that everyone reading this book has at some point worried about becoming a meal for one of these animals. Where does that fear come from? Headlines like "Man-eating sea monster stalks the coastline, killing surfer" certainly don't help. As a young boy growing up in Australia, I spent a lot of time in the water, and movies like Jaws had me so scared of sharks that I'd even think about them in the swimming pools that I used to compete in. This could have been James Bond's fault, as tanks full of ravenous sharks are used by the bad guys in 4 of the franchise films. Of course, some explanation for our fear of sharks lies in the power of our imagination. I loved movies like Jaws and James Bond as a kid because they were stories well told. And while not every one of us will write a blockbuster, we are all the writer and director of the movies in our minds. And many of the stories that we create for ourselves are horrors. There's probably a good reason for that. Perhaps the overactive imagination of our ancestors helped save them from ending up in a saber-toothed tiger's belly. But too often in life, we let the fear that we have created override fact and truth. Are some people attacked by sharks? Yes, and we'll talk about some of them, but the truth is that far more people
Sample complete. Ready to continue?